unless I see the esteemed Paul Wilson here. Paul, do you want to give the NRO update, or do you want me to? No, okay. I shall give it. Let's see. The NRO, we all know what that is, Number Resource Organization. It's the coordinating entity of the 5 RIRs. We have an MOU that defines the terms of it. We promote the RIR system. We promote the multi-stakeholder model, including bottoms-up policy development, so that the community works up and develops policy that we use to run this. It's not a regulatory case where it comes down from government or down from some other authority. We fulfill the role of the ICANN ASO. So we're called the NRO. In ICANN's bylaws, there's an organization called the Address Supporting Organization, and there's a line that says, the NRO shall fulfill the functions, roles, responsibilities of the ASO. So while we say NRO, whenever we go into ICANN, we wrap ourselves in a cloak that says ASO and change all the names. So that's also why our NRO number council is affectionately referred to as the ASO-AC within ICANN. That's why the NRO is called the ASO. This has come up in reviews of the ASO. It's one of the items we'll talk about. Each RIR executive director or CEO sits on the executive committee. Axel Pollock, Paul Wilson, Oscar, myself, and Patrice for each of the RIRs. We have a secretariat, which is hosted by AP Nick and Executive Secretary Herman, and Susanna helps out with running the secretariat with Herman. We have coordination groups, so every time we discuss something like statistics, transfers, registry, services, protocols, there's coordination groups involved in all of that that have the respective leaders of the respective departments of each of the RIRs. And so it's how we take this group of 5 organizations and run a coordinated, loosely coordinated, internet number registry system. And we have informal groups that also coordinate just to make sure on things like public affairs, policy, dealing with financial matters, we're using the same terminology. We publish things. So the most common thing we publish is the NRO statistics, which we collect from each of the RIRs and publish in a common format, and that's on NRO statistics. We've added RPKI adoption reports to that. We have the this year we rolled out a new extended stats file, which creates statistics for each of the RIRs in a more common format. Not 100% there, but getting close. And we do a comparative policy overview. If you want to know what the policy is in another RIR for transfers, for ASNs, you can bring up the comparative policy overview, and it divides the body of policy in each of the 5 RIRs into easy-to-read categories, so it's pretty easy to pick up. And then, of course, we wrap ourselves in that ASO cloak and become the Address Supporting Organization. There's an ICANN website which deals with the aspects of the NRO that we do under the ICANN umbrella. We have a budget. So we all put money into the budget. It pays for the secretary, the website, some of the common travel like the ASO chair. And so our fees that we pay collectively, for example, we pay for the IANA. We also have a joint contribution to ICANN. And it's about $560,000 US is general operations. The contribution to ICANN, $823,000. It's been that since the formation of ICANN. We've delineated that to be $650 for the IANA number services contract and a voluntary contribution for everything else of $173,000. We have a stability fund. We've jointly pledged to help each other in times of need, and that could be financial or it could be staffing. Because again, we're running one coordinated registry. If one of the RIRs has a really bad time, we'll all help out making sure that we don't lose a portion of the number registry system. Cost distribution, so we have a budget, all those prior numbers. We actually charge each of the RIRs based on a formula, based on the size of the RIR, the revenues that each receives. This is the cost distribution, so ARIN pays about 27%. RIPE 31, AP-NIC 22, Afrinic and LACNIC 7 and 10% respectively. IANA Review Committee, I mentioned that earlier. We don't do much. We don't have many requests. It's when we get a new ASN block, or when RIPE got their V6 block, or when ARIN soon will go get one. We put in a request, the IANA processes it. So there's a handful of requests to the IANA each year. Having said that, we have a community-based review committee, 2 members from the community in each region, 1 are our staff, and they review the performance of the IANA and help the NRO EC, the executive committee, know that indeed the IANA is performing its job and we should continue to use them. And they publish a report. So their report for 2018 is published there, and you can see the IANA has done a wonderful job. The review committee members from this region, Louis Lee, Jason Schiller, and it has 2 community members, 1 staff. Richard Jimerson, our chief operating officer, is a staff member. ICANN Empowered Community. You guys might already know about, for those who don't, when we went through this whole reformation effort, we reformed how ICANN was effectively charged with its mission of doing the IANA functions. It used to be those were done under a $0 US government contract. We went through a prolonged process a few years back where those functions now are being done by ICANN, or its technical affiliate PTI, are being done as tasks charged by the affected community. So in the case of the IETF, there's an MOU that says to ICANN, operate all the protocol registries. Port numbers is a protocol registry, MIME types is a protocol registry, MPLS IDs, there's 2,000 protocol registries. Every time you create a protocol, you often create a handful of registries. Those registries that are defined in the IETF, they have an MOU with ICANN that says operate all of those registries for us. And they have a lot more requests than we do. One of the other sets of registries is the 6 number registries. That's IPv4, unallocated, IPv6 unallocated, ASN 32, ASN 64-bit. Those are the registries that they allocate for us. Now the V4 one's kind of empty. V6 has got a lot of space. The ASNs have space. We don't do many requests, but that's how that's now done. It's not being done as a US government contract, it's being done again under our service agreement with them. The last thing they operate is the root zone, and that used to again be operated under US government contract, but now it's technically ICANN, the community tells ICANN, the operator, to run the ICANN DNS root zone. The community wanted to have a overarching control. So when we did this whole process, they created the ICANN Empowered Community, which actually has the ability to remove ICANN board members, replace the whole board. It has very strong powers, and asked that some of the organizations like us participate. So we actually are a member of the ICANN Empowered Community. Whenever you elect an ICANN director, we are one of the parties that has to acknowledge that the director should be put on the board. Whenever they change their bylaws, we have to acknowledge that. It has the various bodies of ICANN, so we are part of it, and the DNS, the G NSO, the government NSO, the CC NSO, the general purpose NSO, sorry, wow, I got that wrong. So ASO, GNSO, CCNSO, the at-large community are all members of this at-large, including the Government Advisory Committee. It's a little bit of overhead, but it helps keep stability at ICANN. You can see what we've done whenever we approve something that shows up on the NRO website. ASO review. Periodically, we're required by ICANN to do a review of the ASO's effectiveness within ICANN, which is reviewing how the functions that we ask ICANN to do for us, or that we do within the ICANN structure under that, are performed. It's a little interesting because we don't do much with ICANN. We do a lot to help them, but in terms of what we do within the ICANN structure for the numbers community, it's only development global policies, and we haven't done one of those in 5 years. Having said that, there was a review. We came out with 18 recommendations. We are working to improve all of those and act on all of those. Some of those are administrative, making sure the website's updated. Some of those are procedural. Some of those are pretty significant items, like there's some confusion over whether we should call you ASO or NRO. Can you fix that? We actually launched our own consultation about the future of the ASO long-term, not the past performance of effectiveness, but future, how you want this structured. And so you can see our implementation report of the independent review. You can see the launch of our public consultation for the future structure of the ASO, which was one of the 18 recommendations, is to have this. And we're still working through that. Trying to figure out long-term how we work with ICANN is an open question. We have a stable arrangement, but it's a pretty complicated, not well-documented, significant overhead arrangement. It may be the price for stability. That just may be the way it is. But we are busy working with the community through this. Technical projects. We have a number of technical projects we're doing. Emergency backup operations. If an RIR is technically unable to perform, and someone actually wants to know what the WHOIS database looks like in that region, or the DNS reverse services are, because they're in a situation of non-performance, it'd be nice if we could restore temporary services. The extended RIR number status report, which is giving the status on transfers and status of the database, free pools in all the regions. RDAP. RDAP is a replacement for WHOIS, which includes the ability to link. So when you do a query, if you query the wrong RIR, it'll chain to the right one. Or if you query an RIR, we've delegated it to someone, and they run an RDAP server, it will chain to them. Sort of like our WHOIS, but better. And support for better character sets and a whole bunch of other things. We're busy working on the technical aspects of RDAC. There's this Internet Technology Health Indicator project that ICANN asked us to launch, and you just saw a report about trying to measure the accuracy and comprehensiveness of the Internet Number Registry system. We just revamped the NRO website. That seems to be something with people who have websites do every few years, and we just did ours, and we redid the ASO website. Both of them are hopefully clearer, better organized, and easier for you to find things on. So that's the NRO Activities Report. Any questions? Rudiger.
John, the discussion in the discussion after the last presentation, I was pointing to delegated extended. Mm-hmm. I didn't hear you report anything about quality assurance for that. I mentioned observations of incidents, in particular with relevancy for ARIN. I wonder whether there is any activity, any plans, any achievements?
There is, we've received reports of concerns about accuracy in the extended stats file, and we're going to be meeting shortly in the next week, and those reports will be discussed. I don't know what level of resources will be put on them or what the joint decision will be, but we do understand there's some concerns that some entries may not be accurate in the extended stats file. That has been received. In fact, I believe you sent a report in to the NRO to that effect.
I reported a big failure of ARIN data at the Reykjavik meeting, and I reported something more recently. Yes.
Yes, we have the reports. And we're meeting next week. Actually, yeah, next week. We're meeting next week, and we'll have a discussion of those same reports.